Today we'll go over why and how you could add a pond to your garden and what things to keep in mind during that process. So why would you add a pond to your garden? Well, first of all, it's an aesthetic feature. I like having an elemental element to my garden, and I enjoy watching the sky being reflected in this little pond every time I walk by. Speaking of reflections, if you have a partly shaded garden, then a pond can actually act as a mirror. Now, it won't be like a second sun in your garden, but it can redirect some of the sunlight into those shaded areas, lighting them up a little bit more. The third, and probably the most important reason, is that a pond like this can act as a hub for biodiversity. It can attract all kinds of organisms such as pollinators, dragonflies, birds, even toads and frogs. And like I mentioned in my Slugfest video, toads and frogs actually hunt for slugs and snails. So that is one of the reasons that I added this pond to my garden. Now, there are some reasons why you do not want to add a pond to your garden. First of all, thirsty birds might get a drink from your pond, and they might also get hungry if they see your young seedlings in the garden and start nibbling on them. And you probably don't want that. Secondly, it will of course take up some space in your garden. Now, a pond like this doesn't really have to be big, but if you have a small garden, then I can imagine that you want to use every square centimeters to grow your crops. So that might be a reason not to take a pond. Adding a pond to your garden couldn't be simpler. As the actual pond itself, I use a mortar tub of about 65 liters. I find this size to be perfect for my garden. It's not too big that it takes up a lot of space, but it's still big enough to house a water plant or two. Now, to determine where exactly your pond needs to be, you can flip the tub upside down, place it exactly where you want it, and then use a stick to draw out the line. And then, as you might have guessed it, you start digging a hole that is wide and deep enough to fit your tub. Try to place the tub inside the hole as leveled as possible to prevent the water from staying in there at an angle. If you're having trouble doing this, then you could add a layer of sand at the bottom of the hole and then sort of wiggle the tub into place. If you want to add any water plants to your pond, then now is the time to determine if they need to be elevated a little bit more. With my plant, that was the case, so I added a few bricks to the bottom of the tub so that it could act as an elevated platform. And then you can start filling up your pond with water. Now, preferably you want to do this with rainwater. You can do this with tap water, but if your tap water is high in chlorine, then you might want to let it degas for 24 hours before you put in any plants. If you have access to the water of an existing pond, then you might want to add a bucket of that water to your pond. Now, this will introduce microorganisms to your pond, giving it a little bit of a head start to eventually balance out. And then you can add any water plants if you so wish. In my case, I've added a Hesperantha, and it should have these beautiful red flowers at some point. Now, you can also choose to add a little walkway for frogs and toads to easily enter and exit the pond by, for example, using a wooden plank, such as this. Or you can stack a few bricks or rocks on top of each other that will eventually act as a stair. And that's how you can easily add a pond to your garden, both as an aesthetic element as well as a biodiversity hub. Do you have a pond in your garden? Or maybe you have some extra tips that I haven't mentioned? Let us all know in the comments below. Until next time, bye bye.